Hi there, this is James. I'm here to show you today, just give you a taste, very quick taste, of what on earth my ZHO CE mod is even about. Because I mentioned there was balance changes, and this goes from everything to the weapons, to the augmentations, to the drones, to the trade system, and to the systems in the game. Obviously, I won't be able to show you that all in one shot. I'm actually going to be playing through games and commenting on things as I encounter them. But just for the moment, I'm going to give you like just a couple tastes of things that are going on here. So here's a starting kestrel in my new CE mod. Like as you can see, there's a new weapon loadout, but that's not what I want to talk about. I'm going to go here and show you how much things cost now. So take a look at the shield costs. It's usually 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, 100. And now it's 25, 75, 25, 75, 25, 75. What's up with that? Well, first of all, let me just, if you haven't realized now, lest you think that when I said there was a balance mod that I was going to make it easier on the player, I hope this proves it wrong. No, the funny thing about playing in vanilla, and also in Captain's Edition and other things, is that at 50 scrap, the second shield bubble is cheap, and very often either nullifies all damage you can take, or sometimes makes it makes a lot of ships unable to hurt you. And with an upgrade like that, which is good for almost the first 3 sectors, seems like you should be paying a little more, if you ask me. So the first shield bubble costs 100 instead of 50. The second shield bubble costs 100. Sorry, the third shield bubble costs 100, like the old one costs 100, but it's still 50 more because of how much the second shield bubble cost. Finally, the fourth shield bubble costs 100 instead of 180, so the total cost of getting 4 shield bubbles is 300 instead of 330. So investing in the fourth shield bubble costs less, but investing in the first 2 costs more. This is, for me, important because those first 2 bubbles are the most important. I've ended plenty of games with only 3 shields and never saw the reason to invest in the fourth because it was so expensive, and 3 shields did plenty. You can get a lot out of it, and what this does really is, because that first sector, squeezing 100 scrap out of it is actually quite hard. This forces you to actually think of other potential strategies of where to spend your scrap, like maybe getting a drone, or maybe getting more weapons, because investing 100 in shields means you're not going to have scrap for anything else. Like you will, and this is important in Captain's Edition in particular, although presumably it could work in any other situation. It's important for Captain's Edition in particular because lots of ships like to run away. So you might not be getting hit, but if all the ships are running away because you haven't invested in weapons, it's not going to help you. So what my point is, by making the shields more expensive, you have a real choice of things that you might do in terms of your systems. Next is engines. What's up with these prices? I'm not going to explain the logic of every single one, but because particular to Captain's Edition, you have this system where if you have 4, 6, or 8 engines, you have the opportunity to spend more fuel and potentially take some damage in order to delay the fleet. That's why the 4th, the 6th, and the 8th engine are costing more, even much more. And if you think this is too expensive, let me just be clear. Well, first of all, in FTL, at the 6th engine, it saves you 2 jumps. At the 8th engine, it saves you 4. I dropped that down to 3 because I just saw 4 as excessive, really. So why would you spend this much scrap in order to get a third jump? Well, let's just do a bit of math. So let's say we're moving from the 4th engine to the 6th. So spending 3 fuel at the end of the sector to 4 fuel, that costs us 3 scrap. A fuel's worth 3 scrap. And taking 4 damage is worth, I would say at that point, 3 scrap times 4 is 12 or 16. So 12 to 16 scrap plus 3, the average is 14. So let's say saving a jump is costs you as the player about 17 scrap with this engine model. I can basically guarantee that so long as you don't hit an empty beacon, whatever reward you're going to get from a beacon is going to be worth more than 17 scrap and other items besides. So is this worth it despite the price increase? Yes, absolutely it's worth it. I found Captain's Edition way too generous in this regard. Weapons, I don't think I changed anything. Oxygen, I believe the 3rd is less pricey. Healing, I believe the 3rd is less pricey. Piloting, the 3rd is less pricey. Sensors, I think the 3rd is less pricey. And other items like cloaking isn't more expensive, but it probably should be. Hacking is more expensive. Hypnotize is less expensive, and transporters I made more expensive initially and cheaper on the upgrades, I think. Now, getting to weapons, think about something like in standard FTL, the Burst Laser Mark III, or in Captain's Edition, which is the Mark IV. One has to ask the question, why would anyone ever purchase this awful piece of garbage? It doesn't even give you fire like the regular Burst Laser Mark II does, and of course the Burst Laser Mark II is an overpowered weapon, but we all agree that this is something never to be touched, which is fine. But the Mark III or Mark IV, depending in Captain's Edition, it takes forever for power just for 5 shots. Whereas two Mark IIs are getting more shots out of it. So and it's still expensive. This is something I would not pay even 20 scrap for with that level of inefficiency. On the other hand, simple adjustment I made here in this one is it shoots 7 shots instead of 4. That may seem extreme, but when you think about it, it's actually a trade-off. First, 19 seconds load is still a long time. That's a lot of time for the enemy to shoot first and disable your weapon. It's a long time and you can only target one system, so that's another disadvantage, which means it gives an enemy an opportunity to run away. Because you run away because you only can target one system, or the shields are still up, or whatever. So is it strong? Two of these are going to give 14 shots in a volley, whereas 4 Burst Laser Mark IIs are going to give 12 shots in a volley. So in a single volley, is it stronger? Yes. However, do the math. 3 Burst Laser Mark IIs in terms of time are about the same as 2 Burst Laser Mark IVs in terms of time, which means let me just do the calculation here again. A burst laser, that's going to be 9 shots times 2 for 2 burst lasers is 18, where the Mark IV is going to get 14 shots total. So if this means, very simply, if there's a lot of shields on an enemy, then the Mark IV is the better choice. If there's less shields on an enemy, then the Burst II is a better choice. My point is, I've applied this sort of logic to all the weapons in the game to give you more options. Now, and one of the reasons was, particularly in Advanced Edition and Captain's Edition, there's so many useless weapons and augmentations that oftentimes I went through the entire game and purchased nothing. I don't think this is a good way to design a game. Now, just to be clear, does that mean I'm being fussy or whiny? No, and I'll explain why. Point is, there's enough randomness in the game to go around, even if everything is balanced, for me to still go through a game and not encounter anything I like, because maybe something isn't what I need right now, or it's too expensive, or it doesn't blend with any of my other weapons or systems at all, and so it's still useless even if the price is correct. So with that in mind, it's like, just, you know, take my word for it that when I start the other videos, you're going to see a lot of weapons that actually you might not have thought you wanted to use before actually be usable. Same with drones. As for the augmentations, I've taken ones that, you know, had good ideas. Let's see, the science lab, which can produce things. It can produce things now without using a turn, which is nice, because that's often a waste for something that is going to sell for not much money. It's been blended with the shield capacitor, so faster shield regeneration. Yay. Two things that, you know, sort of felt subpar, but now make one well-rounded whole. The last thing is the trade system. I don't know about anybody else, but it seems to me that computer games and video games have one quality to them that is unique, that doesn't occur anywhere else. Like, you would never see in a board game. It's not possible to play a board game without knowing all the rules, because the game doesn't play anything for you. Only in computer games can the rules be hidden from you, and so only with Captain Edition's trade system do we get a trade system where you're not told where something can be sold. It's not that that's wrong to hold that back or anything, I guess, but I'm just not interested in playing a mapping game or trying to scribble down a whole bunch of pieces of paper what the trade route system is. So I've just labeled everything for everyone for convenience, so it's easier to figure out what's going on. That's just the quick overview, but I'm going to start playing a game pretty soon now, and then we're going to walk through it and we can actually see what these changes are, and I'll make note of them as we encounter them, and you can tell me if you think that any of this makes any sense at all to you, or not, whatever. This is, of course, only a Captain's Edition change. I mean, whereas the shield change could be applied to any mod, like the engine change doesn't make any sense anywhere else other than Captain's Edition, so I wouldn't bother. But yeah, like, principally, like, a vanilla mod could be done that does this, and I think someone did that. I can't remember his name. It was Tito or something like that. That inspired me to actually attack this thing. But anyway, I'm James, signing out now. Have a nice day. My next video will be about the loadout for my CE mod Kestrel, and I'll be tackling the Flagship B if I can get there alive. Take care.